We do indeed, and this leopard is far from flat, everyone. He is up in the tree feeding at the moment. Look at that. And our plan worked out. We thought we'd head into this area a little bit later. Hopefully it cooled down a bit. And it has somewhat. It's fortunately quite dry in this drainage line. I mean, quite cool in this drainage line. So this leopard is trying to feed on that carcass. A lot of flies around there, as you can see, bothering him quite a bit. But he's trying to finish that, and I do think that he's going to finish that fairly soon. There didn't seem like a lot of meat left. And when we arrived here, there was a hyena that was milling about underneath the tree and got one or two tasty little bits that fell from the carcass. But that hyena's taken that little piece, and hang on, here it comes. Off to the left, you'll see the hyena coming in. There we go. Oh, fantastic. It's trying to scavenge little pieces that the leopards are dropping from the tree. Oh, there's a piece that fell, but it landed in a bush. So the hyena won't be able to get it. And that's great. You know, I actually, I haven't seen a hyena for how long now? A month, yeah. And they're around, we hear them and we see their tracks, but we just don't see them very often. So it's great to see this hyena trying to scavenge bits and pieces from this leopard. And it's amazing how agile that leopard is. But look at that, isn't that wonderful? And these flies, watch, he might try and get that piece in the tree. Let's see. Let's see this. He might try and, I mean, they can't climb or jump very, very well. Might just try and, like we can see, they get on his hind legs, try reach up and get that. That must be so frustrating. Giving us a little look and saying, don't laugh at me. Oh, those flies are really bothering these animals. Imagine that, dangling this piece of meat in front of the hyena and he can't get to it. It must be so frustrating. And look how agile this leopard is. This big male leopard, I mean, Tingana is huge. And the way he is able to move around in this tamboti tree and feed and balance, it is really incredible. See, we'll probably use that tail quite a lot. Those tails are very, very thick. They help balance, very powerful tails. They help balance the leopard slightly. Also try to keep some of the flies away. Oh, this is great. This, to be honest, a leopard sighting like this doesn't get much better. To be able to see it up in the tree, feeding, doing what a leopard is meant to do. You know, we hear stories of leopards hoisting kills into trees and feeding in trees, and you don't often see it. So be able to see it now is wonderful. Oh, let's see what happens if he's going to come down. See, that hyena is very nervous. He knows this is a big leopard. And let's see, we might get some really interesting interaction here. Let's see what this male decides. And that hyena looked a little young, not quite a big adult. And also what happens is, if hyenas are alone, then chances are they won't challenge a big male leopard like this. A leopard will easily chase this hyena off. But if they outnumber the leopard quite a bit, like maybe 2 or 3 hyena, then they'll potentially try and chase the leopard away. But with the leopard being up in the tree, it's completely safe at the moment. It doesn't have to worry about anything. Also, the hyena obviously can't get up into the tree, so that kill is safe, or what's left of the kill. And it'll be interesting to see what this leopard does. Danraj, as I was saying, it's, these leopards generally try to avoid confrontation. So the chances of him fighting with this hyena are very, very slim. But he would most likely chase the hyena away very easily. That hyena, you could see just when that... Oh, look at that. Wow, look how agile he is. Incredible how he can just jump and turn through the thick branches of this tree. It really is incredible. But so it's highly unlikely that this leopard would actually fight with the hyena, but he would probably chase him off, and I think a growl or a hiss would be enough to get that hyena to move away. You saw as he moved and tried to come down, or move slightly further down, the hyena got a fright and it did move away. It doesn't want to necessarily tackle a big, strong male leopard like this. David, you've asked an interesting question about the hyenas and do they normally roam on their own? So, David, the hyenas are found in clans usually. So the clans can be fairly large, but often what happens is the hyenas do move around and scavenge, especially in these areas. They do move around alone and scavenge. It's easier then to try and find food, and they don't have to share food with some of the other animals around this area. Oh, another piece just fell. I wonder if that hyena will want to come through. Don't see it anymore. So, David, as I was saying, with them moving around, scavenging by themselves, it's easier to find food. They don't have to share it with anyone else. And they can then scavenge and move off. But if they find large carcasses, often they'll call and communicate with each other, and then you will find a clan arriving together and trying to feed and scavenge off a big carcass. And especially if there's perhaps a large pride of lions, then if the hyenas do outnumber the lions, especially if they're lionesses, hyenas will be able to chase the lions off. If there are males around, usually the hyenas try to avoid the area because the males are so much bigger and stronger. Here comes the male. Let's see if he comes down. There we go. Oh, look at that. It's probably going to take 1 or 2 steps and then jump. Oh, which way is he going to want to go? I do think if he does want to climb down, he potentially will want to climb this way. There we go. Let's see. Exactly. Perfect. Wasn't that a great dismount? 10 out of 10, Tingana. And I think he may just go and lay down in the shade somewhere. And he's hoisted that kill high up in the tree. Let's see where he goes. Wasn't that a wonderful sighting? Lovely. We'll try to follow him and just see where he does move to. Don't think he's going to move too far. Perhaps he's just a bit hesitant to stay close to the tree. All right, I'm going to see if I can back to the bushwalk to Jamie and get an update from her. And this beautiful male leopard has put on such a wonderful show for us. And while Jamie has been trying to soothe her itches, this male has moved away from the carcass and he's come into this beautiful jackalberry tree. A massive jackalberry, and just have a look at where he is lying. Isn't that a fantastic position for this leopard? It's not often you get leopards just going and deciding to lie in the tree and rest. They do on occasion, but this is obviously a nice big tree. Look at his legs. That is the perfect leopard pose. Legs placed across either side of the branch, tail hanging down. He's probably resting his belly off the side because it's probably full from feeding. And now he's just resting. And while he's up there, he's got a lovely vantage point to have a look around to see if there are any other animals in the area. And also, there's a wonderful cool breeze which is blowing through this drainage line and through this area that we are in at the moment. So it's perfect for him up there. It's nice and cool and probably staying away from some of the flies. So just an incredible position for this leopard. And I unfortunately left my camera back at camp, and that's Murphy's Law. You leave your camera at camp, you often see some really, really great stuff, but it's not a problem because it's just so wonderful to also just enjoy sightings at times. Doesn't mean you always have to take photographs, but just to enjoy and appreciate these sightings, I find is just as beneficial and just as exciting as taking photos of animals in trees or whatever they may be doing. It's nice to see this big leopard up in this beautiful jackalberry tree. Now, there is wonderful light at the moment. However, it's just missing him. He's managed to find a bit of shade. There's some branches in front of him off to the right, and that's blocking the sun. But if you look in the leaves above him and to the left, there's a beautiful golden light coming through at the moment. And he's just in the shade, and it is a pity. If we were serious photographers, I mean, it would be a bit of a disappointment, but like I said, to be able to see a leopard up in a tree like this, out in the open, beautiful view, this is a sighting that very seldom can be beaten. He's just cleaning himself. Anissa, and you are 5 years old, and hello Anissa, it's so nice to have you watching Safari Live with us. Thank you very much for sending your question in. You asked what is my favorite animal. You say yours is the giant panda, and those pandas do look absolutely beautiful. I've never seen one in real life, only on documentaries. We don't get them in Africa, but I would say my favorite animal is actually an elephant. And they are wonderful, wonderful animals, and fantastic to spend time with them. That, and actually a honey badger. And what I'll do is I'll just show you a picture of a honey badger quickly, Anissa, so you know what I'm talking about. Let me just find one for you quickly. There we go. Just have a look at this. That is a little honey badger. And that is my favorite animal, that little guy. Incredibly tenacious, very tough. They're not afraid of anything. But they mainly come out at night, so we don't see them very often. But they are so cute and they're so wonderful. I love them. But I haven't seen one for a very long time. They are quite rare. And then I would say the elephant. But to be honest, sitting with this beautiful male leopard like this, it's making me think, I wonder if I shouldn't change. Because it is such a wonderful sighting to see this male up in this tree. And this is often the time of day where we do head off and try to find if we do have guests on safari, we head off and try to find a spot to stop for a sundowner and watch the sun go down, have some refreshments. But we would definitely not leave a sighting like this because photographically this is just absolutely beautiful. Okay. He's got a massive head and neck. And he's just looking down. This is really, really wonderful. That is a big male leopard. Looks very, very hot, panting. Now that could be a number of reasons, because one is hot, and then also because of that big belly, full belly from all the meat that he's fed on, so they do pant quite a lot afterwards when they are full. See, there are still a few flies bothering this leopard. So we're going to spend some more time with this leopard and just see what he gets up to. Let's quickly head back to the bushwalk to Jamie. She's going to be heading back to camp soon. Male leopard is still up in the tree, Tingana, still enjoying it up there. Nice cool breeze. And we haven't moved. We're still going to sit here for a while. This is such a beautiful sighting. It really, really is fantastic. And we're so fortunate to be able to spend time with a big male leopard like this, so relaxed, up in the tree, giving us a beautiful, beautiful show. This really is incredible. Again with the pose, he's moved slightly, but just at that pose with the legs on either side of the barrage, keep balance, and you can see how full that belly is. Oh, let's see what he does. He's going to move. Just lift the legs up. Hang on. There we go. It's really beautiful, and I think he may have done that to try and enjoy the sunset. If you have a look off to our right, you might get a beautiful view of the sunset. Let's see if Ian's able to show you. How's that, Ian? Oh, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful sunset. A wonderful silhouette of the trees. Denise, your question and your comment, now some of you might start shouting at me, and that's okay, and just my opinion though. And Denise, you say, well, you know, a lot of the other guides refer to Karula as the queen of Djuma. Would we consider Tingana to be the king? I don't know. So I don't know how I feel about calling leopards kings or queens of areas, because they are, I mean, I understand that we get to see Karula a lot, and she is a beautiful female leopard. She does move through the area, and the central part of her territory is on Djuma. Maybe we can ask Brent that question. I don't know the best way for me to answer it, or what the best way for me to answer it is, because I am, like I say, it's wonderful to see these leopards and for them to move around, and this is the dominant male leopard on the area, so if you want to refer to him as a king, then possibly. There's beautiful spots on the legs and the rosettes on the rest of the body. Very, very beautiful patterns. And apparently, and I've never touched a leopard, but apparently their coats are very, very soft. Some of you may have just caught a glimpse of the track on the other vehicle. Looked like he was right underneath the leopard. It was just a perspective that from where we were sitting, he wasn't underneath. He was actually quite a distance behind the tree on the other side, and on the other side of the termite mound. They have moved off, but you see that big termite mound? So the vehicle was actually parked behind there, and was quite away from the leopard. It was just from our perspective where we were viewing from, it appeared as if he was a lot closer, but he was definitely nowhere close to the leopard or underneath it. And every area is different, and every lodge is different. In these areas in the northern Sabi Sands, the trackers do stay on the vehicles, or on the front of the vehicles. Generally, when I guide, and a lot of the lodges that I take guests to, we get the trackers into the vehicles when we get into big cat sightings or predator sightings. And the only reason is it's not a safety issue at all, but occasionally you may cause the animals to react a little bit to the vehicles, because the tracker does stand out a bit on the front of the vehicle, and you don't want them to react to the vehicle in any way. And if he does move or or any quick movement may cause an animal to move away. And then also from a photographic point of view, what we prefer is if the tracker is in the vehicle, it's easier. If the animal moves around and changes positions, you can still get photographs at different angles on the vehicle. Otherwise, you might have the tracker in the picture a few times. You've got to reposition the vehicle. So all of those considered, I prefer getting the tracker into the vehicle, and I think the trackers also enjoy a bit of a break and sitting inside for a bit. So they usually join me in the front, just next to me, and then we can enjoy the sighting, and you don't have to worry too much about movement or anything like that disturbing the animals. But as I said, some lodges are different and they've got different procedures, and some lodges keep the trackers on the vehicles. So it all varies and it all changes. But I prefer to get a tracker in. Heidi, yes, some of the big cats do indeed keep their claws exposed. Not these leopards, however, but a big cat known as the cheetah. Now, the cheetah, they do not have retractable claws like lions and leopards, so their claws are constantly out, and you will constantly see them. The reason for that is the cheetah is built for speed, and they need the traction for when they are running and moving around. So you tend to see the cheetah's claws out all the time. But generally with leopards, only when they're climbing or if they're moving around or hunting, if they grab prey, then you'll see the claws exposed. And all they do is they contract muscles, and those retractable claws then come out and they razor sharp. Same with lions. Sarah from Georgia, you wanted to know how old Tingana is. So he is about 10 years old now, I believe. He was born in 2006. So he's still in his prime. He's still got a few years ahead of him. And for the moment, it doesn't seem like there's really any leopards to challenge him for the territory, and that's why this male leopard has got such a big territory. It's been very successful, been able to mate with a lot of females. And for leopards, that is success. Have a large territory, mate with females, and have offspring. Just turn around very quickly there. So special that we've been able to spend so much time with this leopard. It really has been a fantastic sighting, and he's still very comfortable up in the tree. He's not too phased about moving at all. And I think again, because that cool breeze blowing on him, so he's still very, very comfortable up there. with sightings like this at times, and when I am guiding guests, you don't really have to speak too much about what's going on. It's just really nice to sit and appreciate all the bird calls around us. And I know a lot of our viewers too have been enjoying the bird calls and listening to some of the birds around. There's the red-chested cuckoo calling again, and then a lot of woodland kingfishers at the moment calling in this area. And there goes a woolly-necked stork. I haven't seen those for a while. Possibly might even have a nest up there somewhere. I saw another one fly in there earlier, but that was a woolly-necked stork. And there's another tracker underneath, or not underneath, on the other side of the termite mound. There was another vehicle that joined us in the sighting. And usually when we are guiding guests and we're taking people on safaris, it's nice to purely comment on what's happening. Obviously we get questions about general behavior and that, but a lot of questions we get from guests are related to what the animal is doing in that specific moment, or what we tell them is usually why the animal's doing what it is doing, and just speak about the behavior that is going on in that specific moment. There's no need to really go into too much detail about gestation periods or anything like that if you've got a beautiful male leopard just lying or in a tree. But again, it's important to know all that information, because if you do get into conversations, especially regarding territory and mating with females, then you need to go into that. So it all depends on the questions that the guests ask us. But as I said, sometimes, especially guests that have been on safari a few times, they do just enjoy the sighting and enjoy taking photographs and listening to what's going on around us. Just wait, there's a vehicle that's just moving out. Just want to see which direction they go. It is nice that people do get to come out on safari and enjoy these sightings with us while we're out here. We've had a lot of visitors that do watch Safari Live regularly, and it's always great to meet some of the viewers, chat to them, and they get to meet the team, which is lovely. It's quite funny being out on safari and seeing a vehicle and greet them as they drive past, and then one or two comments, "Oh, we watch you on Safari Live every day." It's quite an experience. I hope the viewers all learn a lot while they do watch us. Now, Heidi, you wanted to know about that woolly-necked stork. Is it a migratory bird, or is it found here throughout the year? And the migratory, or the woolly-necked stork, does generally occur in southern Africa throughout the year. But there are some pairs or some of the storks that do migrate. So it depends on the area that they're in. I think KwaZulu-Natal, you tend to see a lot more residents in that area. They're listed as near threatened, so there are not many of them left around, but you do have non-breeding migrants that move down into or further north, and then but they are generally uncommon in this area, but they do stay. They are resident within southern Africa. I think what we'll do is we'll spend another 5 minutes or so with this leopard, just see what he gets up to. I might change our position slightly, and while I do that, let's head over to Brent for an update and see what he's got.